You're kind of out of time, aren't you?
Yep, I'm very out of time. Okay, what's up? Thank you. Nobody's here at the moment. That's good. Hello, everybody. Oh, that's very bad. That's why that looks weird. Should have turned this on before I started.
Need some help?
I guess so. Say hi to Brandon.
They keep roping me in, guys. There's nothing.
Oh, come on, man. What just happened?
Oh, man. Yeah, you guys are...
I should have looked. Everything's falling apart. I think, wait, let's just leave it. See
well, no, it's gonna... All right, well...
Jeez. That will fall down during
stream. Hey, guys.
It's Brendan.
Oh, yeah, you got it working.
Yeah.
Hey, see you guys. I still live here.
Yes, you do.
Right.
Come on.
Dude, turn the lights off in your room. Quit doing that.
They're on?
No, they're on.
Oh.
You always do that. And I don't know how to turn your lamp off.
Oh, okay. My lamp is off?
It's on? No, but sometimes you leave it on.
Ah, very true. Okay, everybody. Do I remember what I'm doing? No. I just wrote it down too. I changed the title. Let me think about this. I'll just think. Solving equation challenges.
Comments? Is that today or was that last night?
No, that's today. That's today.
There you go.
Very good. I should know that.
It's literally... Okay.
I also just wrote it.
It's on the screen.
I know, but I was thinking, like, I should remember this. That's what I should do. Okay, everybody. Those of you here, those of you not, those of you somewhere in between. Oh, this is nice. Okay. Have you written on this, by the way?
The new one?
The new height?
No.
There is so much space to write stuff. It's just fantastic. Like download doesn't.
Wow.
There's just so much.
Oh wow, you get to like fully extend your arm.
Yeah, it's delightful. Yeah.
Well, I'd act like I'm erasing that, but it's on the other side.
Yep.
See you guys. I don't know if this is a good one.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, it might be.
Okay. I've started hiding my markers from Brady now. I have a couple.
You're supposed to be a team.
I know. But I have to get rid of it. Okay, so solving equation challenges. These are the things that you'll run into that are the speed bumps when you're trying to solve an equation. So they say solve for x, or you have to solve for z in the service of some word problem. So you've created the equation you need, and now you're just isolating a variable, basically. Okay, so number one is going to be variable. Nah, this is not great. How does that work? Maybe this will be better. Oh, maybe, actually. Variable in denominator. That's the first one. Okay, no, yeah. Sound works. Very good. Okay, so with variable in the denominator, much better. Okay. This is when you have something like 2 divided by x equals, you know what? Maybe 2 is not the best choice. If we do 8 divided by x equals 4. Now, logically, I'm sure you can figure this out. It's going to be 2. 8 divided by what equals 4? 8 divided by 2 equals 4. And you can logic your way through that. But when these get more complicated, it's going to require just algebraic techniques to isolate your variable, and I would recommend knowing how to do it for the most simple thing so that you can build from there. So, if you ever see your variable in the denominator, and it's the variable you want, get it out of the denominator. That should be step one, is get your variable out of the denominator. And the way that the SAT will set up the equations, it will be fine. Things will work out. It might not be as easy as you wanted it to be at the beginning, but it'll work out. So we're going to multiply by the denominator, the whole thing, on both sides. So we're going to multiply by x here and by x here. These two x's cancel out because this is x over 1, so that cancels. We get 8 equals 4x. And then we divide by 4, and we get 2 equals x. And we're done. Okay? Now, I understand that that's not particularly difficult, but the math section on the SAT the SAT, the ACT, everything, it just requires you to know what needs to be done. Because you're being tested on all of the math and all of the English and all of the reading that you've done since you started the stuff. And a lot of it goes out the window. If you're in pre-calc right now when you're taking the test, great. It's been a while since you did geometry. So it is a lot of remembering what the other stuff was and then knowing when to use that stuff. So people can have, a high-level concept that they're working through, doing great, and then they get to a weird-looking equation like that, and they just freeze. So this also works if we have something like, let's say x plus 1 over x minus 3 equals, I don't know, 12. Let's see what happens there. Okay, so here's our initial equation. And we say, well, I don't know what to do. Well, you have a variable in your denominator. You don't want that variable in the denominator, so we have to get it out. Now, we're not going to just multiply by x, because the point is you're trying to cancel out that denominator. So you need to multiply by x minus 3 on both sides. So if we do that, these cancel. We get x plus 1. And then here, be careful. People often forget to distribute the 12 to both of these terms. So don't forget that. It's not going to be 12x minus 3. It'll be 12x minus 36. Then let's subtract x, and we'll also add 36. And we get 37 equals 11x, which means that x equals whatever this is, 37 over 11. That is number 1, variable in the denominator. Okay? If anybody has any questions, let me know. 1 second. Oy. Wow. Okay. And now, from here, let's go on to the next one. So this is number 1, variable in the denominator. It's not particularly challenging. It's just you need to realize when it's happening. If you don't realize, then you're cooked. You just stare at the thing. Number 2. Big old number 2. What order do I want to do this in tonight? Yeah. Okay. The next one that trips people up sometimes is radicals or exponents. So let's start with exponents. Let's start with radicals. If we have radical x plus 1 equals 3. In this case, oh wait, that's not what I should be writing there. Last. So this should be radicals and exponents. Rads and exponents. If we say we have, what do I want to do here? Let's say what I did before. So x plus 1 equals 3. Radical x plus 1 equals 3. It's hard to work this out in your head, so I'm not even going to start there. But people forget what to do here, because you're used to, okay, well, I added 3 in this other equation, so I'm going to subtract 3 to get it to the other side so I can isolate my x. But here, you can't subtract radical. So you don't subtract a radical. So remember, you have to always do the opposite operation that's being done to this stuff. So we're not going to subtract 1 right away. We can't do that because it's inside the radical. We're going to square this, because the opposite of taking the square root is to square something. So we take this whole side and we square it. We take this whole side and we square it. The square and the square root cancel out, and we just get x plus 1. This side will be 9. And then from there, we have x equals 10. No, it doesn't. X equals 8. Thank you. So that's x equals 8. So this is the answer. There's no other answers here. If you want to check, we can plug it back in. 8 plus 1 is 9. Square root of 9 is 3. So we're good. Now, another possibility is, you can't square until that's the only thing left. Because once you square stuff, if you have something like square root of x plus 1 like this equals 3, let's say. If you square both sides, it doesn't work quite the same way here, because if you're squaring this, you have 2 terms, there's a plus. If you ever have a plus or minus here, it's not going to just be the 2 pieces squared. If you square this, just do it real quick, we're going to get x plus 2 root x plus 1, which is not what you want, because you'd be doing this times itself, so you'd have to FOIL. That's not what you should be doing. So you need to isolate the radical around the x first. That has to be step 1. If anybody has any questions on that, please let me know. So here we're going to subtract 1 from both sides. We get the square root of x equals 2. And then we can square this side because nothing will be messed up there. And we get x equals 4. We plug that back in, that makes sense. The square root of 4 is 2, plus 1 is 3. We're good. Now, let's hop over to if we're starting with exponents. So it's the same idea. You're taking, if you're squaring something, now you have to take the square root. So let's start with, let's say x minus 4 squared. Let's make this a little complicated. 3 times x minus 4 squared minus 1 equals, let's say, there we go. It equals 11. So we need to do backwards PEMDAS, so we're not going to be able to take the square root yet. We have to add 1 first. We get 3x minus 4 squared equals 12. Then we divide by 3 on both sides. We get x minus 4 squared equals 4. Interesting. Then now we take the square root of both sides. This is where we have to be careful. Let's go down here. If we have a squared equals, let's say, 36. People will think, okay, well, I know that a will be 6. But that's not the only answer, right? Because 6 squared, yes, is 36. But what about negative 36? So this has to be positive or negative 6. Which means that any time that you have something squared to start out, you have to remember that you could have the positive or negative, like what happened here. Now that's not the case with the radical, because if the radical is written in for you, and it doesn't say plus or minus in front of it, then it's assumed to be positive. That's what it implies. It's implying positive. Here, there's no positive that's implied, because if you square a negative or you square a positive, you get a positive, which means we need to keep that in mind. So in this case, when we take the square root, we have to write in that plus or minus in front of it. So that cancels out with the x squared. We're going to get x minus 4 equals the square root of, or the positive or negative square root of 4, so we get plus or minus 2. So this will break into two different equations. We have x minus 4 equals 2, and we have x minus 4 equals negative 2. And then from here we solve individually. We get x equals 6, and we also get x equals 2. Does that make sense? Let's plug them both in to be sure. Plug in 2 here. We get negative 2 squared, which is 4, times 3 is 12, minus 1 is 11. We're good. If we plug in 6, we get 6 minus 4, which is 2. Instead of negative 2, we square that, so it'll be the same thing. Bird!
Oh.
How are you?
What is going on in here?
I'm doing math.
What? This isn't
Yeah.
math. This is crazy stuff.
It is crazy stuff. We're doing solving equations challenges. So if you have a variable in the denominator, I'm doing radicals and exponents now, and then I'm going to do when to know to factor. Not how to factor, but just when to recognize factoring.
But you're usually the English reading guy.
I know. You know what that means for you tonight?
Am I doing that?
You're doing commas.
Oh, no.
Do you like commas?
I do like commas.
Okay. You're going to do commas? Are you fine with that?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Do you remember commas?
That's the thing that looks like a period, right?
Yeah, but it has a little tail.
A little funky period.
Yeah.
Hey, you know how to make a Kleenex dance?
No?
You put a little boogie in it. Na 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 na. Na, na, na,
Did you
na,
make
put a
that?
little
Did you get
boogie
that
in it.
from one of the kids today?
No, it's a classic.
Oh,
Yeah.
got it. Okay. If nobody has questions on this, then I'll move on to the last one, and I'm going to erase this, unfortunately, and I'll recap at the end. Hey, Bird.
Hello.
There are some M&Ms in the other room. Could you possibly get them?
I was wondering where they were.
I think they're underneath the desk. Yeah, let's think about this. Yeah, this should be fine. You find them?
Absolutely.
They sound less full than they were when I bought them.
I didn't do it.
Yeah?
Well, I partially did it.
You did partially do it.
You want some?
Thank you.
Have fun.
Mm.
Medicine. It's important.
Mm-hmm.
You need to grow. This will help you.
Mm. I didn't make a Discord post.
I'll do it.
Can you do that? Thank you. You can apologize, I forgot.
Very good.
Okay, last one. It's not factoring, but it's when to factor. So I'm not going to be talking about how to factor tonight and all those ins and outs, but just when to factor. There are two possibilities. But the main idea is, when you cannot combine like terms, or when you can't combine your x terms. So we're assuming that x is the variable for which you're solving, and you have a bunch of x terms and you can't put them together into one. So combine x terms, impossible. For example, if we have, let's say 2x minus 3 equals 4x squared. Okay, so this does not look, let me actually make this a little bigger. Very good. This doesn't necessarily look like something you know how to do, and that's fine. Remember, recognition is the practice of seeing what the SAT or ACT gives you, and then saying, this is what I'm supposed to do. So you may not know you have to factor at this point, but we see that we have an x and we have an x squared. So if you add 3 and then divide by 2, you do get x equals something, but then it equals something in terms of itself, which doesn't help anybody. Right, Bird? Does that help you?
Yes.
No, it doesn't. Say no.
No.
There you go. Doesn't help anybody. So we can't put these together, right? If we had 2x plus 3x equals 10, then obviously you add these two together, you get 5x equals 10, divide by 2, you're done. But we can't do that here because we have an x squared and we have an x, which means you have to factor. So to recognize that you're supposed to factor, and sometimes they'll just tell you, factor this thing. And you say, great, now I factor. Now you need to know how to factor. But often they don't. So you have to recognize when it's necessary. In this case, or in all cases, it's when you're trying to solve for a variable, but you cannot combine the terms that have that variable. You can't combine these terms, so you're going to have to factor. If you have an x squared and an x, you need to get them on the same side, set the equation equal to 0, and then solve from there. So in this case, I would subtract, actually I'd put the other ones on this side. You get 4x squared minus 2x plus 3 equals 0. And then you factor. I'm not going to factor this, 1, because it probably won't work nicely, and 2, because it's not what we're doing. Now, the other option is if we have something like 3 halves x plus 2xz equals 7. Okay? So with this one, we have an x here and an x here, but we can't put them together because this is just, the coefficient of x, and this is the coefficient, and then we have x and z multiplied together. So there's no way to add these two together. You cannot combine your x terms. You have to factor. Now this isn't the normal factoring, or the way that you've probably factored 1,000 times at this point, which is the thing and then the other thing equals 0, and then you solve and all that stuff. It's not that. You have to pull out the x. You're still factoring because you're breaking down your expression, your big expression, into its factored form. That's what's happening. So we're taking out the x that we want as a factor. We pull it out front. We get 3 halves plus 2z equals 7. Factoring is the opposite of distribution. This factoring is the opposite of FOIL. This factoring is the opposite of distribution. FOIL is just big boy distribution. Okay, and then from here, we would divide by 3 over 2 plus 2z, so you get x equals 7 over 3 halves plus 2z. And that's your answer there, okay? So these are the three big ones. We have a variable in the denominator. Just get it out. Multiplied by the denominator on both sides, it goes away. This actually is where cross-multiplying comes from. So remember, you can't cross multiply unless you have an equal sign. It doesn't work any other way because it comes from this, multiplying by the denominator to get it out, both sides. And then you have radicals and exponents. If you have a radical or you have an exponent, make sure to do the opposite of that to the entirety of both sides. Make sure that you only have the exponent or only have the radical before you do that inversion. And then also, if they give you the radical, that means it's implying positive, unless it says plus or minus. If they give you the squared, then you have to think it could be positive or negative, and then you'll break up into two equations. It was here, but it's gone now. And then the last one is when to factor. Factoring is huge. You factor and factor and factor and factor and factor, and then you forget why you've been learning to factor. So there's a graphical reason, but in this case, recognizing when you're supposed to factor. You cannot combine your x terms together, so you have to factor either the classic way that you do all the time with the two, x plus whatever, x minus whatever equals 0, or you pull out your x. Now, pulling out an x doesn't work in this case because you still have another term there. It's not going to be pretty. But in this case, it does work. If anybody has any questions on any of this, let me know because I am about to start erasing it. You posted on the Discord?
Yes.
Very good. I'll wait. I got M&Ms. There is so much room on this board.
I know, man. It's crazy.
Okay, that's solving equations, challenges. There are other challenges, but these are the big three. Okay.
Comment time?
It is comma time. Are you ready for comma time?
Comment time. I love comment time.
Okay. Oh.
I spelled my gum.
Hi, Crush. Hi, Crush. Are you talking about that tutoring company in maybe California? Bird, did you hear about this?
Dude, I've been reading about it all day.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know anything about it.
Really?
Well, Brennan actually just told me about it, but I hadn't heard.
There's a ton of articles right now. Yep.
We should have done that, dude.
Great. You called?
Yeah, iCrush just asked about the scandal. Well, not asked, but said why is he studying? Because he could have just cheated.
It's some juicy stuff. Did
I
you
know.
Uh-oh. It?
Yeah.
Oh man.
They fired the Stanford sailing coach.
I know. I read that.
Yep.
I'm trying to think if I remember meeting him. I know I've seen him.
Uh-oh.
Well, now you haven't because it's gonna be a new guy or girl. But the other guy you did. Yeah, it's
Dude,
it's pretty dark.
some bad stuff.
There's some transcripts that I read of the conversations that the
Wait, there are transcripts of it?
transcripts of conversations that the parents had on the phone.
Dude, I've been
that
trying to
read.
find some of that. Okay.
Why
You
don't
have
you
to
post
forward
that
it to
to-
me.
Yeah,
WP, got it.
I will. Yeah.
All right. Well, hey guys, see ya. I heard that from my room and had a hi crush. So yeah, I had to comment on it.
Yeah. I know.
We'll talk about it later.
Very good. All right,
Oh,
guys.
I did say that, didn't I, iCrush? Yeah, I honestly wouldn't do that.
Nor should you. You
Yeah.
shouldn't do that.
But I wouldn't do it.
I don't know why you would.
I wouldn't.
It sounds like you would.
Nah.
Oh.
Can you get in trouble for going in to sit for a test for somebody and just not doing it? You just don't do the illegal thing?
Even though you're coming in and
just-
you're saying that you're them.
Right.
I think that's the problematic part.
But then you just don't take the test. Like you're like screwing over the person who's trying to have you cheat for them.
Right. So, okay. So I don't think you should do that.
Like
I
the
can
type of
see
people you want to piss off are the people who are willing to pay you a lot of money to break the law for
Correct,
them, right?
correct, yep.
So you piss off those, but take their money and then.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, you know how they have cops that go undercover? I wonder if they, like, paid someone to go undercover as, like, a person who would take a test for parents.
Very possibly. Or
and
they
then
had
they
a.
catch them that way.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Pretty wild. The fact that they were... I was reading this article, so there was this father who was talking to... Maybe it was a mom, I forget. Talking to one of these... The guy that basically ran this illegal operation.
What's his name?
I don't know what his name is. But one of the things that so they're trying to like masquerade their daughters as girls that row crew.
Yeah.
To like make it look like they're athletes. And so one of the things that he asked for was, can you get a picture of your daughter on the ERC, just to be able to like submit so that they know that she rows crew, which is just ridiculous. I mean, what do they tell the daughter? Hey, we need a picture of you on this machine that you never use because you don't actually do this to send to colleges. Like, I feel like that's pretty obvious to the daughter. I mean, maybe the kids knew. I don't know. I think that it would probably be rough for you as a kid to know that you weren't going to get in on your own merits. But anyway,
it's a sobering day.
Very sobering day. Everyone's very sober.
CV Turtle, what's up?
CV Turtle, walking down the street. CV Turtle, they kind of like to take the shell off and eat.
Anyway.
Commas.
Yes, very good.
Yeah, commas.
I'll be here.
Good.
Where will you be?
I'll be here.
Okay.
Very good. Great. Commas are one of the most mistaken parts of the grammar section of both the ACT and the SAT. They have 4 functions. Count them. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You should know what 4 means. Okay? We're going to talk about each of them. So, the first thing that they do... Yeah, I'll make it easy. Listing. Commas are used to separate items in a list. A list needs to have at least 3 items. If it only had 2, you would only need to use the word and. Eggs and bread. Fantastic. Once you add some cheese in there, eggs, bread, and cheese, you've got a list. And you've got to use commas to separate items in a list. Let me give you an example. Let's see what you think of this. I love the SAT, the ACT, and homework.
Oh.
Yeah, and what? And homework, okay? 3 things, 3 objects, ACT, SAT, and homework. You got to put a comma between each of them. Now, take a little look at this comma right here. This comma before the and has a special name. It's called the Oxford comma. And on both tests, we like the Oxford comma. There are certain grammar manuals that will say that this is not acceptable. And if you've never heard of this before, then just try to tune everything out that I'm saying, because you don't want to doubt what you already have been comfortable seeing for a long time. They will also never ask you any questions about the Oxford comma, whether to put it in or take it out. That is just what that is, and it is A-okay. Okay? Now, listing can also be used for multiple adjectives before a noun. Let me give you an exemplar. So I'm going to put it down here. Here we go. 4 big brown bears run. Yeah, why not? Run. Okay? So adjectives describe nouns. The noun here is bears. The adjectives are, you got a bunch of them. 4 big brown. They all describe the bears. There are places you should put commas and there are places that you should not. One thing you should definitely not do is put a comma between the very last adjective and the noun itself. So we got an adjective here, adjective here, adjective here, and then right here is our noun. Adjective, adjective, adjective. Okay? You do not want to separate the last adjective from the noun, so there should never be a comma there. But we've got a couple other adjectives here, and the rule is, if you can put the word and between 2 adjectives, and it sounds okay, then you can put a comma there, okay? For instance, would you say 4 and big bears? These bears are both 4 and big. No, you would not. You cannot put and there, so you do not want to put a comma there. Would you say big and brown bears? Yes, you would. These bears are both big and brown. You can put and there, so you can put a comma there, okay? So listing is for nouns and adjectives. Nouns plus adjectives. Fantastic. All right, that is rule 1. Rule number 2, I'm gonna get a different pink pen marker. Rule number 2. Oh, that's so much better. I gotta be gentle with this thing. We also use it for comma fanboys. The fanboys, as you may or may not remember, are 7 words that when used with a comma can separate 2 independent clauses, also known as 2 complete sentences. The fanboys are for and nor, but or yet so. 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 Okay? For and nor, but or yet so. You gotta make sure that you know that. When they're used with a comma before them, they can separate 2 complete sentences. All right? Let me give you an example. An exemple, as Levi was saying earlier. Yes. Levi is strange. I like that. Levi is strange, I like that. What we have here currently is a run-on sentence because there are 2 complete sentences that are not separated correctly. Levi is strange. We got a noun. We had a noun, but it's a subject more importantly. Levi is. Is the verb. Levi is strange is a full idea. That's a sentence. I like that. This is a subject. That's a verb. The whole thing is a complete idea. I like that. Okay? Just because that is a pronoun doesn't mean that this can't stand alone as a sentence. It can. Okay? Sentences don't have to be totally clear for them to count grammatically as sentences. So I were just to say, like, it is red. I don't know what it is, but that doesn't mean it's not grammatically a sentence, and that's the important part here. We have 2 independent clauses here, and we are not separating them correctly. So just a little review. Things you can use to separate are a period, a semicolon, a colon, and comma fanboys, okay? If I just put a comma here, this is still not okay. This is a comma splice. It's kind of run-on. We do not like that, okay? If I just put but in here, Levi is strange, but I like that. It sounds fine, but it's not, because it doesn't have a comma, okay? You have to have both a comma and a fanboys to be able to pull this off of separating 2 independent clauses. So once you have Levi is strange, comma, but I like that, then you are set. Levi is strange, comma, but, this is a comma right here, comma, but I like that. Really does not look great right there. I'm gonna try to write this in a little bit better. I like that. I don't even care if I read this is the only one. Here we go. But I like that. There you go. Comma fanboys. Check. That's function number 2. Function number 3. Beep, beep. Here we go. Separating non-essentials from the rest of the sentence. Let's get a little erasy here. I got that song stuck in my head now. Okay. Are you reading about the article? Oh. Then what are you doing? Absolutely. Gotta let it dry, and then we'll get into separating non-essentials. Okay, let's finish this. Separating non-essentials. So non-essentials are descriptive parts of sentences that aren't actually needed for the sentence to stand alone. Hey guys, hey Jay the Whiz Kid, cast any spells lately? Hope so. Jay the Whiz Kid, how's your day been? Levi and I have been a little worried about you.
We have been thinking about you.
You making good choices?
Only good ones.
Levi was thinking that maybe you weren't making good choices, and he was really scared earlier today. I had to calm him down.
They told me.
And I was like, don't worry, dude. If anyone makes good choices, it's Jay the Whiz Kid.
Also, for those of you who are on Facebook or Twitch, just so you know, we're streaming on multiple platforms, so if we're responding to something that doesn't make sense to you, then it's probably just conversational with another platform, people in there. If there's a question, you will know what the question is, so don't worry.
Absolutely. Only spell cast was to get a 70 on a French quiz. What's the spell for that again? Was that Wingardium
Leviosa?
No, you gotta change it.
Oh,
you have to add a little bit to it.
Wingardium.
No, not that either.
I don't understand.
Like
You're so unimaginative.
Wingardium 70%, something like that. You can't just keep it the same thing.
Croissant.
Yeah, but you got to say it badly.
Croissant.
There you go. That's your 70.
Croissant.
Croissant. There you go. Harry Potter. You're a wizard, Harry. Okay.
You're a whiz kid, Harry.
Okay. We're going to say...
Do you need me? No.
Nope. Jay should have studied more. Jay should have studied more. Here we go. Jay should have studied more. Fantastic. It seems like it's true. 70 is all right, but it could be better. You know that. Sounds like you want to be better. That's good. This is a complete sentence. Great. If I want to insert some information in here that doesn't really need to go in there, let me say it's about Jay. So let's say, we're going to say Jay, my friend from French class.
I like that you're holding your other hand behind your back. It's very fancy.
Yes, I feel very fancy. I don't know why class is capitalized. We're going to keep
You
that there.
smell fancy.
Do I?
Yeah.
Very good. Okay.
That fancy smell.
That's a fancy smell.
Like a new rug.
Jay, my friend from French class, should have studied more. This is called an interrupting element. It's right in the middle of the sentence. It interrupts the flow of the sentence. When it does that, we have to designate that we're going to be taking a right turn for a while, and then we'll come back on to our original route. So these commas here tell you when the weird tangent starts and then where the weird tangent ends. So if you see commas separating something on both sides, there's a good chance that it is a non-essential interrupting element. The thing about commas is that they don't tell you what they're doing. It's not like right there, this comma is a listing comma because there's a little L in it. It's not going to say that. It's just going to be a comma. You have to figure out what that comma is doing there. So pairing up commas to find interrupting elements, sometimes there might be several commas in a sentence, and you have to kind of figure out which two commas are supposed to be paired together to separate this thing in the middle. Now, the way that you know it's an interrupting element is if you can take it out and the sentence is then a lot smoother and what it should have been originally, or just kind of the more basic idea of the sentence. So, if you said, Jay, my friend from French class, should have studied more. And if you take this out, you just have Jay should have studied more. You're totally fine. That means it's an interrupting element, which means that it should be cut off by commas on both sides. Now, this information that's not essential could actually be at the beginning of the sentence or the end of the sentence as well. I don't know. I should be way more conservative with my space here. I could have just put this way more to the left and I'd have more room here. I'm getting used to it. There's so much space.
There is so much space.
There's so much space, Levi. Let's try something else here. So let's say, furry and cute. My Instagram worthy cat did a little dance.
New marker.
Should we just throw this out?
Yeah.
How do you know when it's dead? When it's like clearly dead?
When breath becomes air.
Nice catch.
Ow.
All right. See if you can read this. Furry and cute. Stop. Why would you do that? We have to get rid of that now. We shouldn't throw it back. No. Don't do that again. Furry and cute. My Instagram-worthy cat did a little dance. Okay? So the non-essential here is furry and cute. It has a little comma after it. It should be about the thing that's following, which is my Instagram-worthy cat, and that makes sense. That's the thing that's furry and cute, so we're all set here. But this is just a little interrupting element. I'm not interrupting, I'm sorry. This is an introductory element right at the beginning, non-essential. Great. It is nerdish, right, when it doesn't write LOL. Exactly. Yeah, okay. And if it's at the end of the sentence, let me show you what that looks like. Is 58 times 72 equals S question minus 6. Can you help me it work? I believe we can. Tilla de Beast. Put it on the queue. We're going to throw that up here. Till 33. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll get to that in a little bit. Okay? And then if it's at the end of a sentence, we might say something like this. I ate a hamburger covered in seeds. Levi, I don't really think that would count as non-essential, would it? Could it?
When? Who?
I ate a hamburger covered in seeds.
No. You would not do that.
I wouldn't need a comma there.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
No.
It's about the hamburger itself.
They would not. So that is, I guess, a bit of a choice in that case, but they would never give you the choice of not having it or having it there.
Yes. How about this? I ate a hamburger, comma, which was delicious. What do you think about that?
Yeah.
Is that good?
I think about it all the time.
I ate a hamburger. That's your independent clause. Which was delicious is just extra information. If you take it out, you have I ate a hamburger. That's fine. So you do want to have a comma separating these things. Very good. All right, Levi.
Yes.
Help us out with number 4.
Okay. DC, comma IC.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, do you want that written out fully or no?
No, you're good right there. That's perfect.
I'm good?
Yeah, you're absolutely good. Yeah. Tilde beast. That question mark there means that you don't know a certain number you're trying to solve for, so you should replace that question mark with an X. That's your first thing.
So 58 times 72 equals X minus 6. This is actually sort of like what I was doing because it's solving for a variable.
Correct.
That's what I was doing.
It's very much so.
Very exciting.
Yes.
It's just like that.
Yes.
So first you have to do 58 times 72, which I guess I'll just do longhand 72. So we have a 16, and we have a 10, 11, and then we have a this, and then we have a 56. That's a 5, that's a 35, that's a 40. So we have 4176. So we have 4,176 equals X minus 6. So we add 6 to both sides, and we get that X equals 4,182 chickens, most likely.
Chickens. Yeah, okay. So take a look at what Levi did. He figured out what 58 times 72 was, and then this number that we're trying to find is being subtracted by 6. So algebra says in order to undo operations, you need to do the opposite operation, which is why Levi added 6 to both sides, to get rid of that negative 6, leaving you just a naked X on one side, vulnerable and exposed to the elements. But free, finally, for once in its life.
Yeah.
Right?
And now it knows how to identify itself.
Yeah, it's 4,182. It was always like that. Okay, so the last function of commas is a dependent clause, comma, independent clause. All right? Talk about a dependent clause real quick. Let's take a very simple sentence. Levi, give me a sentence.
I giggle.
I giggle. That was my best giggle. That's a sentence right there. Levi already taught me those, LOL. When? Today?
No.
Did you do commas earlier today?
No.
Did you?
No.
Did he?
No.
All right. I giggle is a sentence. It's an independent clause because it can stand alone. If I put a certain kind of word in front of it, it will become dependent and it will no longer be able to stand alone. I'll show you in a sec. Here we go. The word while. While I giggle. Done. That's not a sentence. There's not a complete idea, okay? This is not an independent clause. It's a dependent clause because it depends upon something else for it to be able to survive, okay? Right now, this is going to gag and then die for lack of oxygen unless it has a buddy to give it CPR, which is its independent clause, okay? While I giggle, comma, now we need an independent clause. While I giggle, let's say I pee a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I do. Do you?
Only while I giggle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it inappropriate?
It's a little inappropriate.
Yeah, all right, fine. It's just like potty humor. It's not too bad, but while I giggle,
It's patty humor.
I snort loudly. No, I snort. I don't like that either. While I giggle.
What does one do when one giggles?
I smile. How about I squint my eyes?
Very good.
Some people do that.
You snort vividly, huh, CB Turtle?
Vivid snorting.
Well, turtles do a lot of vivid snorting.
That makes sense. Yeah, that's one of their. Isn't that one of their like Pokemon battle attacks? Vivid snorting.
Vivid snort.
Yeah, vivid snort. Okay, while I giggle, I squint my eyes. This is the independent clause. This can stand alone. I don't know why we cover this up, because we can't. I squint my eyes. Perfect, independent clause. Okay, DC. Levi, you want to get in your underline that?
Oh, I want to get right in here.
Comma.
I want to.
IC. District of Columbia, comma.
Independent Columbia.
Independent Columbia. Okay, now here's the fun thing. If you were to reverse this and have the independent clause first, you actually wouldn't need the comma. All right? Pretty wild.
Whoa.
Can I see that? It's much better. Come on.
Sorry.
I have a good one. I don't know why I need this.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, can I have that one?
No.
Oh.
So I squint
You have such a sharp Q.
my eye at me.
Yes.
What do you mean a sharp Q?
You have a sharp Q.
Oh, Q.
Yeah.
Thank you. While I giggle. Look at that. I squint my eyes while I giggle. We do not take a pause when we say something like that because commas are usually used to make pauses apparent when you're reading something. This just does not need a pause. It is one long idea. So if we have the independent clause first and the dependent clause afterward, we do not need the comma there. So in this order, you need a comma. Those are the 4 uses of fanboys. I mean, not fanboys. Wow, commas. Those are the 4 uses of commas. Please let me know if you have a question about any of those. We have the overlay up and running, right? Leave.
What?
We have the overlay up and running.
Yeah.
Very good.
Do you?
I don't know. Do we? Do you have?
I have a joke.
Oh yeah, that's good.
What's the? Hey, CB Turtle. Knock. What is the difference between a cat and a comma?
Something about a tail.
What is the difference between a comma and a cat? More specifically, do you know? The answer is one. Ow.
Sorry.
One has a pause at the end of its clause, and one has clause at the end of its pause.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
That's really good.
Yeah, I did not make that up.
You can comma a cat, but you can't cat a comma. That's
Do not
also
comma
true.
a cat. Are you serious? Don't comma a cat.
That's also true.
Hey.
What? CB Turtle, put a comma after cat.
Yeah.
You've got 2 independent clauses there and a fanboy
You
without
said
a
you were going to
comma.
comma a cat, and you didn't put a comma after the cat.
You can comma a cat, comma, but you can't cat a comma. Also, can't has a little apostrophe.
Not in that usage.
Not in that usage. Who just texted me? Who was that?
When so one has pause at the end. One has a pause at the end of its clause. The other has clause at the end of its pause.
That's fantastic.
It is pretty fantastic.
You made that up just now?
No.
Oh. When did you make it up?
You need to go back to school. Get out of here.
Oh.
Bring your school to this.
That's untenable. Massively untenable.
Bring it here. Put it on the stilts.
Yeah, on
They
the
do stilt
stilts.
schools.
Stilt schools.
Yeah.
Stilt schools for you
Today.
and me. .com/org.
Okay. Have a good day at school till
Don't forget your lunch
I
or
think
your
it's
lunch money.
T.I. Ladle Beast.
Don't let the bullies take your lunch money, because it's 1975,
Yeah.
and bullies take lunch money. Hey kid, give me your lunch money, or else I'll cheat off of you on the test. I'm still gonna do that.
That's horrifying.
Well, the bullies do that, man. It's 1975. What do you expect?
Hey, CB Turtle, do you have questions, thoughts, concerns, interests? Oh, we've done this before. Now that I think about it,
It doesn't
That's
really
why I
feel
liked it
good.
last time.
It was fun.
ponderings.
Ponderances, hindrances, obstacles, blockages,
Gunk.
phlegm,
Bulgogi.
Bulgogword. That's one of my favorite ones to do it too.
Bulgogword?
Bulgogword.
Have you done that before?
Of course, yeah. Levi told me to read more like articles. So do you guys know any websites with good articles or reading comprehension articles? I took a practice ACE to English. Let me find a question I got wrong. Good idea, CB Turtle.
Yeah, I recommend news because they always have new stuff. So you go to high school, so your high school very possibly has access to one of those big databases with articles. Database. Robots in databases. That was a mess, huh? Yeah. Since we're in New York Times Magazine has great articles that are long form and interesting. The Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post, as long as the level is pretty high, that's the thing you want to do. I think news is good because it keeps you informed and you can kind of lord it over your peers and make it seem like you're smarter than they are.
Which is the whole point.
Which is the point. It's about power, not about knowledge. What?
Keep going.
Okay. That's actually how we are.
Right.
Yeah.
How's our overlay?
I think it's great.
Do we have every other page?
Oh, yes.
We
I
still
have
do?
not fixed that.
Very good.
So those types of things. Stanford has a big database of philosophy stuff. I don't know if you like reading about philosophy or theology and philosophy, but if you
dense.
Google the Stanford database of philosophy, I don't know what it's called. It'll come up. I think it's called...
Encyclopedia of Philosophy?
No. It's named after Aristotle or Plato or something.
Like the Lyceum or the Academy or...
I don't know, man.
Okay. Aristotelian metaphysics?
Word.
Metaphysical? Metaphysics. Yeah, a robot.
We can talk to Brandon. He'll send you some books.
Robot, have you ever read Fahrenheit 451? That's a good book. It's called Fahrenheit 451 by Benjamin Bradbury.
Jay. All right, Jay. You just hurt Brady's feelings.
Bum, 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 ba-da, bum, bum. Well, Jay the Whiz Kid.
We got a question on the Discord.
You may not like that book. Oh my god, wait, I'm sorry. It's a different book. It's a different book. Which book were you thinking about, Jay the Whiz Kid? It's not that bad, I just never understood it. Share the username and password for Stanford Philosophy. Fahrenheit 51. Oh, okay. You just never understood it. Yeah, no, it's a good one. But also it's super, it's like very good at identifying technologically kind of where we're going. Like you can totally see, I mean, he wrote it a while ago. So like he talks about having these parlors which are like rooms where like all of the walls are essentially TV screens. And so you're like inside of a show and people spend all of their time in there. Nobody reads anymore. And like anyone who like thinks critically is like deemed kind of strange. If you go for a walk, like the police officer pulls up to like, hey, everything okay? Oh yes, I remember that. Yeah, okay, we got it's right. Exactly. Yeah, the main character is a fireman, but firemen do not do what they do now. Instead, they find people with books and they burn the books. So the society is just trying to burn all of the books. Super dystopian, super wild. We got a question here on the Discord. Ooh, CB Turtle. CB Turtle, we got an English question. It's ironic. Okay. Let's see what we got here. When begin including a word cross in this section every week? Usually one he wrote himself, but sometimes a reader submission. Ah, very good. Okay. I'm going to write this out. We're all going to get it. Isn't it ironic? Don't you think? Robot, I don't think we have the username and password for Stanford Philosophy. So I don't think I can help you with that. Okay. I mean, just my personal opinion is if you're trying to read more, that stuff is super dense. I don't know if that would be the best thing to read. Okay, so we have... Wow, come on. Nope, that's not great. Is it? No, it's not. Okay. I'm going to toss that down. Here we go, here we go, here we go. We're taking the pink one. The pink one's good. Yep. Okay. Can you guys explain a reading strategy where you don't read the answers but answer it for yourself? Do you guys recommend that idea? At a certain point, you have to read the answers, right? I mean, you could answer it yourself and then find an answer that matches what you think. That shouldn't take too long. But also, it says, like, which of the following provides a reason for this? And, like, it might be impossible for you to come up with your own that matches any of the answers. So, like, maybe for, like, you know, a good 2 or 3 seconds, you could think about it yourself and then look at the answers. But I don't think that's going to help you too much compared to some other things you could do. All right. He began including a word cross in his section. CV Turtle, I'm going to get rid of some of the words that we do not need to think about. So like every week I'm just going to get rid of. And so there's a period and then usually one he wrote himself. Okay, and we have no change, just bills, please. Okay, G, H, J. Weekend, usually. Okay, weekend, usually. Week, dash, usually. And then week, semicolon, usually. All right. And the question that's underlined is, here we go. It's this part right here. Section, something, and then usually. All right, so one thing that you have to recognize is that periods and semicolons are the same thing. They do the same exact thing. They separate sentences from each other. That's all that a semicolon does. It can be used just like a period. It separates 2 sentences. So the answer, no change, is section, period, usually. The answer J is, it's supposed to end with week, so like a section every week. You know, that's kind of confusing. Here's what I'm going to do. It's only 2 words. There, that's what we're trying to look at. He began including a word cross in a section every week, period, usually one he wrote himself, okay? A semicolon and a period are the same thing. Therefore, it would not be okay of them to make one of them right and the other one not. If one of these is right, the other one's right. But because there can only be one answer, that can't be true. Those are wrong, and I'll tell you why they're wrong. They're used to separate 2 sentences. Let's see if we have that. He began including a word cross in his section every week. Is that a sentence? Yes, it is. We have a subject, he, we have a verb, began including. Does it have a complete idea? Yes, it does. The second thing we have is usually one he wrote himself. Is that a sentence? No, it is not. It makes sense when you think about it at the tail end of this sentence, but if you just had usually one he wrote himself, that is not actually a sentence. If you reworded it to he wrote one himself is fine. But usually one he wrote himself, there's no active verb there. Wrote is a verb, but it's not the predicate of the sentence, which is like the active verb of the sentence. So you could say something like, it was usually one he wrote himself, but usually one he wrote himself, not an actual sentence. So because of that, we can't use a period like they're using here, so F is out of the question, just like J, okay? But again, I don't even need to look back at these. If F and J are functionally the same thing, then they both can't be right, okay? Now we either have and or we have a dash. So let's read both and see what happens. He began including a word cross in his section every week and usually one he wrote himself, okay? Now and is like a separator. This thing and that thing. But these are both talking about the same thing. It's about this section he wrote every week, which just so happened to be usually one he wrote himself. Using and makes it sound like there's 2 different things that he began including. He began including a word cross and one he wrote himself. But there's not 2 things here, it's one thing. And this one thing, which is this section, is one that he usually wrote himself. So we need a more tight connection there, which in this case is going to be the dash, okay? A dash is similar to a comma, where it separates some non-essential information. It gives you more information, but it's not crucial for the sentence to stand alone as a full sentence. And we could end a sentence every week. That'd be fine. Having a little extra information about that word cross, then that's okay. Okay? So a dash here is the only one that's going to work. You just want to have a dash between week and usually, which means that the usually would not be starting a sentence, so it does not have to be capitalized. Got you? Makes sense now. Excellent. I am so glad. So glad. I'm also very proud of you and everyone else.
Stop me if you said this. There is no option where it's just week, comma, usually. Because that would also be grammatically correct.
Yeah.
They're never going to make you choose between a comma and a dash if they're both used correctly.
Levi's very much right. That is a very close connection to the period semicolon connection as well. Those are like the same thing. And one thing to keep in mind too is I talked a little bit earlier about how you can use 2 commas to separate an interrupting element from the rest of the sentence. You can also use 2 dashes to do the same thing. Okay? What you can't do is start with a comma and end with a dash, or vice versa. If you're going to have something in the middle of a sentence, you got to surround it with either dashes on both sides or commas on both sides. Don't mix the two. As tempting as it might be, don't mix the two. Hey, who am I? Ready?
Bird.
No.
Oh,
Ready?
yes.
Beep.
Robot dancer?
Just a robot.
Oh,
Yeah.
very good.
I'm surprised you got it.
Yeah?
Who told you that robots went beep?
Yo, I got friends who are robots.
Really?
Yeah, robot dancer.
I got friends who identify as robots and the sing to the old ways. What do we got here? I hope I find a friend who to motivate me to study. I bet if I had a motivated friend group or just a friend who would push me to work hard, I'd be an A-push right now. But I don't know, maybe that's just me. I think there's a lot of people that probably identify with that. We can be those motivated friends. We can try to be.
We're your motivated friends.
We're so proud of you. We want you to do the best you can.
Yes, but it's very much, it's love. It is love, but it's conditional on you being good enough for the love, right?
So it's like a cycle. You only deserve to get the love if you deserve to get it, is what
So
you're
if
saying.
you're born into it,
Says, there's no...
good. We
This-
just give it a little chutzpah.
Yeah, it'll be a full Megillah. You gotta take, there's like a D you're putting after Stan. Just take it out. It's just Stanford. It's no Stanford.
Yes,
I don't want to be like that, but it's...
you are like that.
I'm like that.
And
I don't
that's
know.
why I love you.
Do you?
Well,
Sometimes.
Yes.
When I conditioned to get your love. There we go. Very good. Very good. Jay the Whiz Kid, you gotta somehow pull that motivation out of yourself.
pull it out, put it in the tray where they put the organs, and then give it to the doctor.
It does. You're not the only one to say Stanford. Don't worry. Some people say Stamford because they think it's on the East Coast, so there's a little M in there. There's all sorts of different ways to spell it that aren't all right.
CB Turtle, if you're here, the question you posted about the sentence being kept or deleted, I would like a little more of that passage because I don't know what else they talk about in the passage, so I'm not sure if it's an introduction to the rest of the stuff.
Jay the Whiz Kid, maybe you have a friend who also wishes they had a motivated friend who would help motivate them, but like both of you guys are trying to like play it cool and not be motivated. Do you want to link to the ACT and more pictures? Can you guys review my intro for rhetorical essay? That's probably something that you want to talk to Mr. Levi about.
Yeah, just give me the link for it. That's fine. And then Jay, if it's short, just put it in the comments here so that everybody can see it more easily. Or you can just, I don't know if you have it as text or if you have it as a photo. Yeah, put it in the Discord. The Discord, yes. Oh, that's so close.
Discord.
Why not me, Discord?
Discord. Yeah, wait, Jay, do you know what the Discord is? Is that it, like... It looks like...
Oh, is that like you don't know what Discord is, or should you put it in the Discord?
I hope to read so much and be able to comprehend textbooks after reading it once. Reading what once?
The textbook.
Which textbook?
He's saying in general, like he wants to have a high enough reading level where he reads the textbook and gets it.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
textbooks are not necessarily meant to only be read once. They have an incredibly dense number of ideas.
Yeah, depends
That's
on...
a terrible way to say it.
It's okay. It depends on the subject. And also, I think it almost sounds like you want to like be able to like hold on to the information after you read it once, which is extremely difficult because it's so much information. And memorizing is very different from comprehension. One of the best ways to learn, and this has been actually like, there have been like experiments on this and all that.
People have said this.
They say it because it's true.
it.
Right. Is if you put ideas in your own words. So it's called cognitive restructuring. And I heard about it earlier today at a little training session I was at. Yeah, if there's an idea and someone says it at you, then like it might stick. But if you take that idea and you try to reassemble it in your own words so that your brain understands it, that is like that is the highest... That is the most effective way that you can retain new information. So like that's sort of why they say when you're, reading a textbook or reading a chapter and taking notes, you take notes that are in your own words because the act of figuring out what words you want to use and then writing it down, you're just creating dense connections of new neurons and synapses that are strengthening and a lot of this. Action potential is just going crazy. Yeah, is that why acronyms are very effective? Yeah, acronyms are kind of fun. Yeah, there's like a little, what do they call those? Mnemonic devices. Yeah, they're little fun ways of remembering things. There's something called a memory palace, which is it's a strategy to memorize a lot of things very quickly. And it's really cool. Yo, team, what's going on? Mojo, 1, 2, 3. How are you? We're just crushing it. Hope you're crushing it too. It's just a collective crushing of it. So memory palace is a way to memorize a bunch of things. You think about a place that you know very well, like your childhood home, where you can go through every single room. It has been a long minute. You can go through every single room in your head. You can just walk through it. And the way to memorize a long list of objects is to put each object in one of those rooms of your house. Picture, an elephant being in your bedroom or something like that. And then you walk through your house and you collect all those objects afterward. And that's how you remember a really, really long list of things. I sent it in questions for stream. Leave, are you looking at that?
Uh-huh.
Are you?
Who?
Jay the Whiz Kid.
Yep.
Jay the Whiz Kid. 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 Levi's gotcha. Levi's gotcha. Yes, that's pretty wild. There's people that set records for like memory, for really ridiculous things that are just meant to win contests. Like they're not really going to help you, but someone can like, I got a 35.25 in the FABCT. Oh, Mojo. There is really no effective difference between 35 and 36. So as close as you were, there's not a school that will not look at you because of that. Okay, I know it's like you're so close to that cutoff. Bio-Olympiad too. Ooh, the Bio-Olympiad. That sounds pretty nice. Yeah, but Mojo, you're great. That's a great score. You don't need to take it again. You've colleges will not. But
that's awesome, Mojo.
Material, LOL. Yeah, it's a little bit of a flex. A little bit of a.
Wait, Mojo, I thought you did poorly. Didn't you? Anyway, ridiculous. Jay, what you put in the Discord is good. I think that is a perfectly good. Then just don't think about it. Sorry, Jay. The intro paragraph that you put in the Discord, it's solid. I wouldn't change anything. It's good. That's cool, CB. That's fine. I really, the intro is not super important. You gave context to the argument, and then you said this is how the person structured their argument. It's good. I think what I like to do is give, and you don't have to do this. It's not necessary. I just find it makes it easier for the rest of the essay to get other points on top of stuff to make your essay really stand out and be above average, is to say whether or not they succeeded in their argument. So you're not agreeing with them or not, because that's not what they're asking for. But say they did a good job, or they successfully built this argument using these things. And then when you go into the body paragraphs where you're explaining each of those techniques that they used, say they did a good job doing this because of, they're a high schooler, but they had all these facts, so it works very well for their audience who is going to be high schoolers and adults who are older, but the use of facts legitimizes her argument because a fact is a fact regardless of your age. Something like that. Don't say it like it's a Dr. Seuss book, but something like that.
Mojo. Very good observation. These logos are in fact backwards in real life. But we don't really live real life. We live life on stream.
In this dark box.
This is the only time I feel alive. That's the song.
Yeah, so Mojo, you can hang out for sure. Hang out, ask questions if you have them, or come back in the summer or towards the end of the summer when we're doing some more college application streams.
What is this? The thing in the bottom corner.
Oh my gosh.
Alta ipsum? What is that?
I think what that means is summit yourself in
Latin.
That dead language.
Summit yourself?
Summit yourself.
What does that mean?
I would think it means something like be the best version of yourself with alta ipsum.
With alta ipsum?
Which is a service.
Right.
That you can most likely use on your phone and your
computer.
Your computer.
Right.
Your personal computer.
Right. For things like grade
for things
tracking.
Like tracking grades.
Scheduling assignments.
The assignment of scheduling.
Right.
Not really.
Setting goals and trying to...
Goal setting.
Goal setting,
yep.
Right. And just all in all, outsourcing all the academic stress into an app that tells you what to do and when to do it.
Executive functioning.
Executive functioning.
Functioning executively.
Like an executive of a government.
Functioning body.
Or a company.
Like... Not ours. Ours is actually very poorly run. It's just us.
Hey, that's not true.
Hey, but it's me and you.
Exactly. Anyway, and Alta Ipsum is free for the first month. You should put our Nerdist schedule on it so you can remember to watch us to get ready for that big ACT or SAT you got coming around the corner. And it's free for the first month. You have nothing to lose. Check it out. Outsource all of that academic stress. It's not good. Yeah,
I'm
anyway.
pretty sure my teacher said this essay is dependent on me moving up.
You mean you moving up is dependent on your essay? Mojo, yes, very good.
WizKid, I would say yes for the SAT. It's good. Some of the word choice I wouldn't necessarily use. I think the way you use the word ferment or fermenting, I wouldn't put in that spot. There was one other word that I didn't love usage-wise, but I think it's good. The word effortlessly, I think, is a little off in the way you used it. Also, if we're being nitpicky here.
He said something.
But I like it. Starting off with to protect and serve, period. You could very possibly put that in quote. I would actually say put that in quotes. But I like the stylistic way you start the intro paragraph. I think that's interesting. It shows that you can not break form, but when you do something a little bit unusual, it actually serves the essay, which is the whole point. There's no point in breaking form or doing new things in an essay if you're not actually using it to further your argument. I think that worked well. I like it.
Yeah, I didn't read it. But
I would buy
trust
it.
you. Would you?
Yeah, I would buy it.
For many tens of dollars.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mojo.
Okay, no. Matrix stuff is they don't really explain a lot when you're first learning it. They're just teaching you the operations. So transposing is not something that you need to do through an SAT or ACT. The discriminant, though, wait, you mean the determinant? Exactly. I see what you're saying. Yes. Okay. So here's the thing about the determinant is they teach you how to take it. They don't really tell you what it does, and you don't actually really understand what it does until you're way later on in your math career when you're taking linear algebra, which sounds easy, but it's not. What the determinant is it tells you how much larger a two-dimensional area will get on a linear, what do they call that? Not a linear space. Linear transformation. It really, I could send you to a video.
Lambda.
Are you talking about, what's that called? Taking the, no, not Lagrange.
Lagrange.
Eigenspaces, eigenvectors, eigenvalues. Yeah, like, if you, oh, jeez.
Also, if anybody has a question that's actually going to be on the test, please ask it, because this won't be.
Yeah, I will not. If you have a vector...
Mojo, then just forget them. Just forget.
If you have a vector and you multiply it by a matrix, which is something that you do in linear algebra, it sends it somewhere else. It sends it to a different place, like maybe over here, okay?
I was just picturing one of those people that's on the tarmac at an airport doing this to planes, but it's going like, repress, dissociate. Very good.
And when it does that, it's because it transforms the entire space. And when it does that, sometimes it makes these one-by-one boxes get larger. And the determinant tells you how much larger they're going to get. So if your determinant is 2, that means that any unit area is going to become twice as large when you perform whatever transformation that you do on a matrix. It's so complicated that there's so much you have to understand before knowing exactly what I just said, even though this makes it look like, oh, that's not bad. If you look at, there's a YouTube channel called 3 Blue 1 Brown that I really love. That does a very good description of linear algebra, and one of those videos will tell you what the determinant does. And then as far as, what is it called? As far as transposing a matrix, oh man, it's been a while since I did that. It's like it's not taking the inverse. The inverse is something else. What does the transpose of a matrix do again?
I don't know.
You take it to like a little exponent t, transposing a matrix. I haven't done that in so long. Oh, okay, that's easy. Yeah, the rows become the columns, and the columns become the rows. Okay. So if you have a matrix like 1, 2, 3, 4, you want to take the transpose of that, you're going to get 1, 2, 3, 4. So your rows, your first row becomes the first column, the second row becomes the second column, and like that. And I forget exactly when you would do that. Why is that useful? It's useful for something. I don't know what. There's a whole branch of math that's just about how matrices work. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Matrices seem like they're not used for anything, but they are. But they're used for extremely high-level stuff. So, like graphics coding in video games and just general computer animation uses a ton of linear algebra, which involves matrices. I know that finance also uses a ton of matrices. You're multiplying tons of data values by other data values. By itself, it doesn't seem like you'd use it for anything in your own daily life, which you wouldn't until you got to like higher levels of academics or career stuff. But there's a lot of stuff like that in school where you're like, when am I going to use this? And it's like, yeah, but if you didn't realize already, most things that you learn in school are not, you're not going to like do them. Like you're not going to, interpret a Shakespeare play. I mean, some people will, but a very small percentage of people go into, dramaturgical studies of Shakespeare. But that doesn't mean that you don't do that in English class. They give you a wide taste of a lot of different subjects so that you can, number one, show if you're hardworking enough to learn a lot of these things, and number two, hopefully guide you a little bit later on in what you found interesting and what you didn't. They have to keep you in school for a certain number of hours every day and a certain number of years. And so they're just like, what else can we teach them? Well, I guess we can teach them more about matrices. So, okay, probably appear to be socially prepared for the real world. Yes, it is. Socialization, that's the thing, is like they want you to be effective members of society and be able to work together and not be college when stuff gets interesting. Yeah, I won't lie, it really does. So like if the whole point is socialization, then you don't realize that that's really what's going on, and they give you reasons or things to think about, not the ways to distract you from that, which are the classes that you take, which are the things that fill in for, reasons to have a bunch of kids together and teach them how to be people. Is let's educate them, let's teach them things, which is kind of a win-win for society. But yeah, it is a lot of stuff that you're probably not going to use. Everything in the beginning up until, I don't know, 6th or 7th grade are like crucial skills, and then you start learning a lot of like secondary skills that they go really deep into certain topics that you might not need. But if for someone who just likes enjoying knowing things, people in my class constantly say, "Will we ever use this?" And I respond, "When the upcoming quiz." That's funny. You know what? In math class, I'll give you a good reason why you need to know this stuff is because it's on the SAT and ACT. Transposing is not. So there's a certain level of math where you get above it, and yeah, it's no longer on the SAT or ACT. But for stuff that's before you get to that level, you're going to need this stuff if you're going to try to shoot for the tough colleges, the higher level colleges. Is you want to get the best college entrance level exam score you can get. I agree, Jim. But at the same time, a lot of stupid stuff is worthless and doesn't need to be taught. Doesn't need to be taught, such as grammar. Ah, look at that. Some things are worthful. You misspoke. Yes. And I was there to... Yeah, no, and there's a lot of people that are like in the field of academics and say, we teach a lot of stuff that we... All right. There it is. Mojo, I mean, we all know you got a great score. You don't need to reiterate. Everyone's very excited. My experience is that when students say, "When will we ever use this?" a lot of times, who uses your incorrectly is incompetent. Thank you, Jay the Whiz Kid. I hope that's the effect we're having. My experience is that when kids say, "When are we going to ever use this?" it's not. It can be coming from curiosity, but a lot of times it's coming from frustration of not understanding it. So the way that you make yourself feel better is to give yourself a reason why it's not important that you understand it, which is that you'll never use it. When if you had understood it, or if it was explained well enough to you and your brain, was able to like comprehend what was going on, and a lot of things are not going to be that easy to understand at first. But once you, apply yourself and learn a little bit more about or get someone else's explanation or something like that, you'll understand it. So, but when you don't understand something, it's easy to just say, well, screw this. I'm never going to use it, so I'm not even going to try to understand it. And there's a good chance that you'll never use it. That's true. But, if you wouldn't be as frustrated if it made a little more sense. Thanks, Levi.
Yes. Who are you?
Thank you. I was going to say something else about, I'm going to never use this. No, anyway, no, there are a lot of people in academics that say that, we're teaching a lot of, like the wrong things. Like personal finance is a super important topic that you can teach high schoolers. How to balance a checkbook and how to, like how loans work. Like all sorts of things that happen to a lot of people that's like not really taught. Same for like shop. Shop class used to be taught at a lot of high schools, and so you got good with like making stuff and woodworking and all that, which are like really useful skills that a lot of people don't end up using. Is of course you have. Oh, okay, so you have it. My high school, I did not believe had it. So that's something that actually is very useful, and that's definitely a course that you should take if you haven't already. Have you taken it? Did you like it? I don't have that. See, look at that. Some people have it, some people don't. Yeah, like most people don't end up doing calculus, but a lot of it again is like there's this game that's going on, which is no. It's very similar. The class says very excited to take covers. Everything else you do is very bad. What every single class could do for you. Google. Lil Uzi Rover. Oh, look, where'd you come from? I don't think you were there before. This is a really interesting conversation we're having. Yeah, school kind of was invented, at least in its current form. It was like a Prussian model, which is a state that no longer exists, that was meant to basically output good factory workers that were able to work together and obey orders and things like that. Which is why we still, find students sitting in neat little rows and sitting up and like listening to the teacher and all that, is because you're supposed to be, I don't know if other people is invaluable. Yeah. I think that's really another massive part of school, is to get you good at interacting with people. Schools, I think the model we're using is a little outdated, and it's slowly changing, but there's a lot of places where it's not changing fast enough. There are certain schools that don't require you to learn every subject, but rather watch you and notice which subjects that you like more, and gear you in that direction, and have you learn and explore more in those topics. I think some countries in Scandinavia are more like that. Which I think in general is probably better for you. I do think that there's a lot of base level on the spot, and schools become more advanced because everyone in the future kids be able to come Russians. Go to a trade school. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, trade schools are incredibly useful, and they're not really talked about as much as they should have. And yes, good memory. Yeah. The USSR satellite Sputnik launched in, I think, 1957. Made everyone in America very scared that we were falling behind. And that's what launched NASA. That's what got us on the course to land on the moon. NASA was a huge part of our budget. Good memory. Well, as long as you keep it for a couple more weeks, maybe that's good. Levi, what time is it?
It's about 10:50.
No, it's not. It's not at all.
We have 5 minutes left.
But yeah, when we were against the Soviet Union, NASA had a massive budget, and we've never had a budget like that for NASA ever since, because it was because we wanted to beat them and to show them that capitalism was better than communism. That was really the whole goal, which is why we put so many resources into space and all that. And then once they fell, it's we haven't really been as excited or just as motivated, because we don't really need to do those things. We won't. That doesn't look right.
No?
I think this is an E.
Is it really?
I think it's an E. Yeah.
Rip.
Yeah, you should work there at NASA.
Gosh.
I have a friend from growing up that works at NASA. He worked on one of the Mars rovers. It sounded awesome.
Wow.
Yes.
Now I know.
Yes, Robot Dancer. I've been reading that article all day. Levi is not yet, but it's incredibly juicy and very disturbing news.
Do you get your nourishment from articles like that?
Partly, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a pyramid of nourishment and different groupings of things that you need to get nourishment from.
I actually don't get nourishment from that type. Are we talking about the articles about the scandal stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love hearing about people taking advantage of the education system for their own personal gain and for the gain of people who are also, abusing the system.
Right. Yeah, no, it's pretty messed up. They had someone on the inside at these testing centers that would deliberately change their answers because he had the answer key before they sent the tests in. And they paid a lot of money, and there's these fake charities that they donated to that was secretly them paying for these services, and it's pretty dark. And it's these two Hollywood actresses.
They set it up, or they were
no. Two of them were who used it, yeah, as well as a couple other. I think in total 50 people were indicted. Is that the right word? No,
probably not indicted.
Accused. Charged. Yes, charged. Okay. Yeah, and 30 of them are parents, and 20 of them are school administrators and things like that.
Cool. Okay, so Jay the Whiz Kid, say hi, because I will stop in a sec if you're not here. I like the idea of each of your supporting paragraphs. Hey, okay, don't yell. We have repetition, and then you also said, Bert, I actually need help with this word choice here.
Why?
You said amplification, which is not quite the correct word here. So amplify means to make louder or bigger. It doesn't really apply to word choice. I would, Robot Dancer, I would say keep looking around. The New York Times is super, super cheap, but The Economist, The New York Times, you do get, one free article a day. You could maybe Your school should have some stuff. Talk to people like you're somebody in the administration, and that you should have access to free articles. You shouldn't need to pay for anything. Okay, so amplification. This is not quite the right word for what you want. You want the fact that she's using strong language. Wow, there are 80 articles about it? Oh my goodness. So yeah, post them in the Discord, Mojo, if you'd like, in the general. So repetition, I liked. I liked that you said she used repetition. I wanted you to be a little bit more clear about what effect that would have on the audience. So you were saying like it may, you know, she repeated here, she repeated here. It would actually be nice if you gave some. It's not evidence. It would be some numbers. So she said this thing, and then she repeated it 2 more times. So she made this point 3 times. What did that do to the audience? That is what you really, really need to focus on, because that's this whole this is the whole point of this exercise on the SAT is their device, their rhetorical device, and then how that leads to effect. Notice it's an E, not an A, on audience. Okay, it's that leading to that every time. So repetition means that the audience is, you know, shown that this is important. They are not allowed to forget. And then amplification, I wouldn't use that. I would say something like, I don't like strong word choice either, because it's not great word choice on your part, or my part in this case. I would say emotionally provocative language. How do you spell provocative?
Provocative.
Are you sure it's provo?
Yeah.
Provocative. Yeah, provocative. Yeah, okay. Provocative language. Interesting capitalization technique there. And so this is the amplification. She uses that. Like, this is where they led them 6 feet under. So it's, or maybe, so it's the element of surprise when she said it leads them here, and then she goes from this theoretical thing to 6 feet under, which literally means these children are now 6 feet underneath the ground because they're dead. That is emotionally provocative. And then say what, yeah, you could also say use pathos. That's fine, but the important thing is saying how this did this. So the effect on the audience from repetition was you can't escape it. It's heavy-handed. It keeps them stuck. Like it keeps them focused on the important parts, which are whatever she was repeating. I forget what it was exactly that you said. And then the emotionally provocative language. The effect on the audience is that they are emotionally engaged and they are thinking about these murdered children when they are thinking about guns. Not how did this happen, what was about, you know, the author is using emotionally provocative language to put the readers in the emotional headspace she wants them to be, which is also her emotional headspace. Okay, so it's the device and then the effect on the audience. Every time you have to talk about the effect on the audience, because otherwise, that's why she's making an argument in the first place. She's arguing to convince people of her idea. Okay. Thank you for the link, Mojo. Also, congrats on the 35. That's fantastic. I don't know if you actually thought you were going to get that and you were just trying to keep your expectations low, but you got a 35. Now you're done. Come back at the end of the summer. We'll be doing talking about essays and stuff like that. We'll be doing some raffles. I'm really sorry if yeah, no, never mind. That's all. No, it was something else. It does make a lot of sense. I agree. Yeah, amplification is hard. That if you're getting, so the word amplified, that's good. If you want to say she's amplifying the emotional part of her argument, that's the idea. But amplification doesn't really lend itself to a rhetorical device. She's not literally amplifying anything. So repetition and then emotionally provocative language, or say pathos, but then I would use the word amplify after that. Could you possibly make comments on the essay, because I probably won't remember everything? No, sorry, I don't do the one-on-one work. We're back tomorrow and Thursday, and so we can talk about it then, possibly, if there aren't other questions. This is more important than anything else. I would say your essay was good. I actually don't at the level that I want to be talking about. This is what's important for you to remember. There's a bunch of other things. I would say some of your preposition work, so the idiomatic way we use the English language. What prepositions different verbs take, like the difference between jump on and jump in and that type of idea. Not that was in your essay. That you seem to mix up a decent amount. And the way to fix that is to read more, which is an annoying thing. But me telling you, oh, the word, this verb takes on instead of about when you're using it in a sentence, it's going to be really hard for you to remember, and you probably won't have to use it again. I would say you want to read and read and read to be able to deal with those idiomatic usages in English. Because your vocabulary is good, but some of the vocabulary is not used exactly the way you're trying to use it, like amplification as an example. Okay, have a good night, everybody. We will be back tomorrow at 8 p.m. for the same thing. Again, not commas, not solving equation stuff, but other stuff. Okay. Bird. There we go. Bird says good night, everybody. See you, Mojo.